Hey class, I hope everybody's doing well. We're going to be jumping into the week 6 discussion question 1, um, talking about the phrase change or changing the world, and maybe people that I think have that power, and then talking a little bit about chapter 12 and some feelings I had while reading that. So the first question being, why do you suspect there we go, there are so many books published these days with the phrase "change the world" in the title? Um, I think this is I think this phrase "change the world" it really it really appeals to the human sense for power. I think there's this driving force in humans that more power means better, and that if you have more power, you're able to change the world. Um, I also think there's an aspect of people will recognize that there is change that needs to be there's change in the world that needs to be made, um, and they want to be a part of that. And they want to feel validated and feel like they contributed to the change happening in the world. So I think that if you slap that on a book title, anything really, a poster, people are going to be drawn to that. There's a curiosity, I think, behind the phrase "change the world" because it seems like this impossible task, right? You always see um, in movies the supervillain is trying to change the world or rule the world, um, and it's never done, and he never succeeds, right? Um, and I don't think it's a. I think there's a little bit of a different context here when you're talking about movies and in real life. But I think that when you put that phrase "change the world" on a book, um, it makes it feel very personal. It makes it feel like you are able to, excuse me, able to be a part of that. Again, be a part of that change. Um, and I think that there are people in this world that have that power. Um, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I don't think they have that power, right? Because there are a lot of people in this world who have a lot of influence. I think of celebrities being one. Um, you have multiple celebrities with huge people groups following them, um, and really kind of um, almost worshiping them to an extent. And I think that they would, so some of those fan groups would um, go the extra mile to accomplish whatever that person was trying to do or trying to sell. Um, and I think that because that hasn't happened yet necessarily, I can't think of an example of like a following of people or a celebrity like orchestrating a movement that has changed the world a ton. I'm sure there is one. Um, I can't think of one off the top of my head right now that has that big of an impact on the world, right? But I think that it is possible. But I think that with just with the way the world is, the people in the world, and people will always fight for what's right. Um, so I think that there's always going to be a clash, and again, we saw this year in politics, and there's always a clash. There's always another side of the argument. So there's always going to be um, kind of friction within that change happening because not everybody views change as the same. So I think that you could have a big group of people fighting for one change, but then you could have an equally big group fighting against the change that they think is right. Um, so I think that I think it's possible, but it's very hard. Um, and I think it's a stretch. I think that it will happen. I do think though it is possible, and I think that again I can't think of an example off the top of my head, and I'll probably think of one after I get done filming this. But um, I think that it has to be the right timing, and everything has to pretty much line up perfectly for one person in a position to be able to change the world on a significant scale. And again, that significant scale, like what that's also up for interpretation. So it's like if someone were to, I don't know, donate a bunch of money to or organize like a donation to a bunch of like food banks and help get food, like, is that a significant change, or is that change not big enough? So again, it's a lot of opposing views. It's a lot of just things that are up for interpretation. When you talk about changing the world, it's different for each person. And then chapter 12, with reading chapter 12, did I find myself reading chapter 12 with impatience? Yes. A mixture of relief and depression, or with something in between. Excuse me. Definitely felt more on the depression side of it. Not like I'm depressed, but reading it was just kind of like, okay, like there's this phrase that we see everywhere, right? We can change the world. You are the change in the world. I think that, like, especially in the church that I've been growing up at, like, they always preach that, like, the next generation is going to be a change in the world. You guys are the change that needs to happen. And then reading that, and it's like, oh wait, never mind, maybe we're not. But again, I understand that. I understand what he's saying, and again, there is an aspect of relief, because that is a really big responsibility. Like I was saying, it's a big task to go and change the world, and actually change the world on a significant scale. So I think that, like, hearing that, and I'm a very, like, self-motivated person. I'm motivated by things, and I want things to get done. So hearing that is definitely hard, because I've grown up believing that I am able to change the world, when my one person is enough to be able to change the world. Now, do I fully disbelieve that now? No, I don't think so. Sorry, I still think that my generation, myself, has the ability to impact something in this world, and possibly change the world for the better or worse. Who knows? And again, on that significant scale, that's up for determination. But yeah, it was a really interesting read. I definitely wanted to get done with it. But yeah, it was an interesting read, and just an interesting way to think about the phrase that I see all the time, and that you do see everywhere. And it's something that I didn't really think about before reading this, like how often we do see that phrase pop up everywhere, whether it's in entertainment, movies, social media, whatever, book title or books. You do see it a lot, and it's kind of weird that I never picked up on that, but very interesting. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Hope everybody's doing well, and can't wait to see what you guys have to say.